And I said to this person Saturday afternoon, he was the best guy. Then an hour later, I look at my phone, I see that Richard Simmons has died. And I said to the person, I said, hey, who did I tell you who was the person I always got excited to see? They said, Richard Simmons. I go, he just died. They're like, what? I was like, how insane is that? That I was talking about Richard Simmons, and an hour later, we find the news that he dies. It was like, honestly, give me like chills. I was like,
yeah.
So then I was like, let me see who else I can talk about and see if they'll die. And then
no, stop.
No, okay.
Welcome to the Hollywood Raw YouTube page, guys. We're happy to have you here. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave us comments, do all the stuff.
What are you waiting for? Let's go. I got a drug addiction to feed.
Bienvenidos a Hollywood Crudo. I'm trying to get our Spanish audience right here. I want to, bring everyone in, feel included into our Hollywood Raw home. No, guys, welcome to Hollywood Raw. I'm Dax Holt. That's Adam Glyn. Sorry, Adam. I'm really feeling this Argentinian side of me after watching them take home Copa America. I'm just so excited.
Yeah, you're such a soccer nerd, dude. Who knew that? Were you one of the guys trying to sneak through the vents, trying to get into the to watch the game?
Oh no, those were Colombian fans, not Argentinian fans.
Gotcha. Argentinians were not going through they were going through the stores. The Colombians were going through the vents. Everyone.
What a crazy couple days it's been between the Trump possible assassination attempt, and then the Copa America, the just shit show that was, all the deaths. I mean, it really has been crazy over the last couple days.
I have not watched 2 minutes of any of that soccer stuff. I've been so out of the loop. I think I've just been outside, Dax. Get outside. I don't watch any of the soccer. I'm watching that show with Jake Gyllenhaal on Apple TV at night. Other than that, I just been I'm not a soccer guy. America wasn't in it. I'm not one of these people. You know what, Dax? I grew up with all these people that root for Spain or Italy, and they've never been to Spain or Italy. And that always bothered me. I'm like, guys, you've never even been there. Don't go about go Spain. I'm like, you've never been to Spain. Like, what are we doing here? What are we doing? I'm always that should be my catch. What are we doing?
What are we doing here? No, this was like a soccer fan's dream, dude, this past Sunday, because you got to realize you had the Copa America final and the Euro Cup final on the same day. I cheered for Spain because, and I'm not I didn't really care between Spain or England, but because I was in Spain a couple months ago and I was cheering them on the beginning of the tournament, I felt like I should follow my cheering them on through the end of the tournament. But it was a good game. But my wife's from Argentina. Her entire family's from Argentina. And so we set up this giant blow up screen outside, watch the soccer game. It was awesome. I loved every second of it. It was a really stressful game. But they won Copa America 4 years ago, then World Cup, now Copa America. And again, it's a good time to be an Argentinian fan.
That's good. I'm glad it's a good time to be an Argentinian football fan. It's not the best time to be an American football fan because American and the Copa just stunk. And that's all I know about when it comes to soccer. Are you excited for the Olympics, Dax?
So I used to get way more excited for the Olympics because growing up, I did gymnastics when I was younger, and I've always thought, I'm going to be in the Olympics, all that. So that those were exciting for me growing up. I feel like it's lost its excitement a little bit over the years. And I don't know if I'm just old and grumpy or jaded. I don't know, but I don't get as excited for them anymore for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, no, it depends on the ratings. We'll see. It depends where the Olympics are. Because if they're showing the events in the middle of the night, no one's watching them. So there's not as much excitement for it. They're showing them during the day and there's some buzz around them. But some of the other networks aren't going to throw gas on the Olympians because it's just going against their TV. It's going against their content. So NBC, who I think has the rights to the Olympics, they're going to put a lot of gas on the Olympics because they want to kind of bring in people. But why would ABC, Fox kind of care about the Olympics when it's just bringing eyeballs away from them? It's sort of interesting with the Olympians because I've been kind of dealing with them for a pretty long time now. And whenever they compete and if they win gold, they don't stay for the rest of the Olympics. They rush back to New York and try to do media and try to make money off of them winning the gold. And then it gets a little sad too, because like they walk around with a gold medal and people don't know who they are and people kind of lose interest in them very quickly. It's weird. And I'm involved in some of these like PR publicists like groups, and they're constantly looking for money for these Olympians for like brand deals and stuff like that. And I get it. They're just trying to eat. So it's just like a very, I don't know, sad. Like I get it. It's a very cool thing to do, but
it is
some
weird
sadness to it.
How the shelf life for an Olympian, at least in the entertainment world, is quick. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, after someone wins a bunch of swimming medals or wins a gymnastics medal, like the height of their excitement around them is huge. I mean, you have your outliers. You've got the Simone Biles and Michael Phelps, the people that their name lives on forever, right? Like because they were such a big deal at the Olympics. But some of the people that are smaller that won 1 gold and not 7, like again, they come back and they do their media, and then in a year from now, people aren't talking about them again. And then what do you do? Like, what do you do after that?
Yeah, I mean, look at a guy like Michael Phelps. You know, during that time, he was the biggest star in America, at least. He was huge. The guy was huge. And now it's like if Michael Phelps was 2 towns over, like stopping by a 7-Eleven, would you go over and he's pushing on Slurpees? You would?
It's Michael Phelps. Yeah. That again, there's some
I don't
people
think people care.
that are so big, that are so decorated at the Olympics that their name is a household name. That I think is cool. I'd love to meet Michael Phelps.
I don't know. I mean, listen, I don't think people care about Michael Phelps that much anymore. You know, I mean, and I say that depending if you're a swimmer, of course, you're going to go crazy for him. I think more, when it comes to Olympians, more people care about Caitlyn Jenner than Michael Phelps. She's more interesting. Michael Phelps is just like, oh, like it's kind of like, okay, it gets sadder and sadder after the years. But listen, I shouldn't say sad. That's not the word. What they did is an incredible feat. It's just you hope they get into the business and they're doing well. He's pushing cold plunges now, Michael Phelps. He's got a cold plunge line that he's doing. I don't know how well it's doing, but you know, he's trying. But anyway, Dax, you hit me up this weekend. You said to me, I got to be honest with you, I'm really bummed about Shannon Doherty passing away.
That one hits closer to home, I think, than a lot of other ones. And I want to get into that. I want to talk about her. I want to talk about Richard Simmons. I want to talk about our personal interactions with the two of them throughout the years. And, you know, also we should mention Dr. Ruth as well. And I know that you've ran into her quite a few times over the years out in New York. So I just wanted to kind of take an episode and talk about them, talk about any moments that we've had or memories that we've had with these people. I remember we did this, you know, after Aaron Carter died, we talked about him coming on our podcast. And, you know, I think people find it interesting hearing those personal relationships or whatever interaction we had with the celebrity when they were here. So anyway, we'll get into that here in a second.
Before we get into them, Dax is so nice. He's got so much time in his hand. He goes through the reviews daily. We have these reviews. We go review the podcast every morning, lunchtime, during his lunch break, and at night. He just reads the reviews. He needs his confidence built up, and so do I. And Dax can read. I can't. So he reads these reviews, and if you want us to leave us a review, I so appreciate Dax would too, because it's the best thing to do to support this podcast. Dax, do you have a review ready for us?
I do. Hot off the fresh from Apple Podcasts. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll find him there. All right. This one comes from Catherine Lane 2. It's a 5-star review. It says, awesome job, guys. I love the unique insight and experiences you have on the world of Hollywood, and you keep it honest. Love it. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Catherine. You know what is also kind of my favorite thing is once we read the review. Why is it always a tongue twister, by the way?
It is.
After we read the review, I see people in our private Facebook group off the record, like so excited that we finally read the review. They've been waiting for weeks. They finally got to hear it. So I like that they get excited. That's fun.
Yeah, it's very nice. I love that when people hear the review, and honestly, we appreciate them. And it's a way for us to show you to give you your flowers back. Is that what they're saying these days? The flower, the Riz back? I don't know. I'm trying to. Do your kids say Riz?
Oh my God. Like every 4 seconds.
Oh
Riz,
my God.
Giat, no cap, bro. I'm like, I feel
No
so
cat.
old these
I
days. Yeah,
know.
it's so dumb.
Yeah. Actually, before we even talk about kind of what we are kind of leading into, so you know who was in New York this past week, Dax? Was the Hawk
Who?
Tour girl. And the
This
Hawk
girl
Tour spit on
become
that thing. The
how did
viral.
she become so famous? I don't get it. Like,
Well, I'll tell you what, though. I think it's going to get weird soon because you got bad people around you. And so she's doing these appearances and she's getting paid like $30,000. They're saying reportedly getting paid around $30,000 to show up to these events and stuff. And she did one in New York City this past weekend, and the crowd, there was people there. There wasn't a lot of people there. There wasn't a big crowd there. There wasn't a huge demand there. No one was kind of going crazy for her. She rolls around in a Sprinter van and a bodyguard, but it wasn't like a crazy amount of people there for her. But I reached out to them and said, hey, man, I would love to kind of get an interview with you. And while you're in New York City on the streets, which I do with a lot of people, and some people are down, some people aren't, but they didn't respond. But then I realized the girl is being coached into doing the PR celebrity route. She's doing setup paparazzi shots. I mean, wow, that the publicists are calling the paparazzi saying, can you get her there? Can you get her there? But the issue is that her photos aren't selling. So the paparazzi are like, fuck, like we took these photos of you. We spent our hours for us and we're not making money back. So it's going to get pretty weird soon with her.
I think. What would you say to her? Like if she came to you and she wanted you to be her manager, what would you guide her into doing then?
I would say collabs and be very nice. Collab with people, connect with stars, show that you kind of jumped the line. And I would say the first thing is connect with stars. It's not the paparazzi shut up shots right away. I think it's really connecting with other celebrities and let them know, like, hey, these people are fans of me too. And you got to go quick and you got to go fast and you got to go hard. Get the right team around you and you got to work. You got to be working every single night. You should be on tour right now and not going to like a New York City, because New York City, I don't think New York City cares about her. You need to go to places where they don't get people. Go to Lincoln, Nebraska. Go to Oklahoma. Go to like some random cities where they don't see people, and that might be a little bit more beneficial for you. Will they maybe pay $30,000? No, to show up? No, because I don't know if they're making that type of money. However, you could work 5 nights in a row there, and it will kind of be a little bit more. People share those photos on social media. That's what I would do.
But what is your stick after this?
Your shtick? Podcast. I don't know if she could be an actress, but I'd go podcast route and go vlog and podcast, YouTube and podcast.
I don't know. Feels like a very small shelf life, in my opinion. You really got to transition this into something much bigger, and I don't even know what that would be at this point.
Again, if you're going to pick some people,
you said one thing on social media that blew up.
Yeah, I mean, it's a weird time right now, and I think it's scary that, it's a very weird time. We're all, including like the biggest stars in the world, are trying to figure out what's sticking and landing and what's going to be there for long term. I mean, it's so funny. I follow these Instagram accounts. I follow like old movies, and the excitement I would get going into a movie theater and seeing movie posters that were coming out, the excitement I would get when you would see movie trailers that were coming out. I would be so excited for those movie trailers. Now it's just a different time. And I think some of us want it to be back there like how it is during that time. And some of us are younger and don't know what that time was. And they're kind of on their own journey of finding what they enjoy and what they appreciate and stuff.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Why'd I get so deep with you, Dax? All right. Let's talk about
this is all over Hawk to a girl. God, what are we doing? Are we freaking doing with our lives right now? All right.
So you hit me up over the weekend about Shannon Doherty. You hit me up like basically 24 hours after she passed, and you go, listen, Adam, I think the Shannon Doherty thing really hit me. That one really hurt. What was your experience like with Shannon Doherty? Why did it hit you so hard? And what was your relationship with her? Because you've met her a few times.
Yeah, I'm not going to say I was friends per se, but we've had quite a few interactions over the years. Yeah, this one, I don't know, like Sunday morning waking up and seeing the news. And listen, it wasn't like it was unexpected news, right? She's been dealing with stage 4 cancer for years and years and years. I think it was back in 2015. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, but by the time that they had found the breast cancer, it already spread into other parts of her body. And I remember my first interactions with her were right around that time because I was doing a lot of stories for TMZ about her breast cancer, about the diagnosis, but then about all the fallout from it. If you remember, she had gone after her former manager. She had sued her manager because he was in charge of kind of going after or maintaining all of her bills and fees and this and that and in charge of her SAG dues. And because he missed a letter from her insurance company, she was dropped from her insurance at the time. And she was dropped from her insurance, so she'd stopped doing her regular checkups. And during that time was when they would have found the cancer. And so she went through like almost a year of no checkups, and then finally got back in. They found the cancer and they said, sorry, it's already spread. You're a little like too late. So she was very upset about that. And that's kind of when I came into the picture because I started doing all those reports. She was willing to chat with me. And I was breaking stories based on what was going on, but you could tell she was just sad. She was hurt. She was mad that she was in a situation like this that she felt could have been very preventable. And you could hear that pain when I would talk to her in her voice of like, this should have been something that I had control over. And I feel like that control was taken away from me. Right. And then you've seen over the years how much that has evolved into acceptance, into appreciation for life. Even with her podcast, you could tell that she obviously didn't want to die, but that death was upon her. And I think she did the best that she could. Like she brought a lot of awareness to breast cancer and cancer in general, and talked on her podcast and had her friends come on and really just looked at life. And there was one time that her and Holly Marie Combs came over to TMZ. This was years ago. They were doing a show together. And they came in, and I've been friends with Holly Marie Combs for quite some time. I don't know. We met on Twitter or something. And anyway, I went to go like meet both of them and like say hi and just chat with them for a while. Shannon was just so sweet, like such a nice person. And I feel like she's gotten a bad rap over the years. When you think of Shannon, what comes to mind?
Well, what's so funny? Me and you differ. It may be because you're just a year or two older than me, but I was a 90210 guy, but I wasn't a huge 90210 guy. I followed the show when the show happened. I guess I was a little too young a little bit at some point, but I started getting into it like season 3, season 4. Like I wasn't like the first season 90210 fan. So I kind of came up a little bit with the show. I thought the storylines of the show were really good, and it was very well done. But it's not like a show I still quote. I wasn't obsessed with it. And but the thing, I never really got excited to meet Shannon Doherty. Like for some reason, she seemed like one of those people that would always be around. Mm-hmm. And so I never if I had a tip on her, I'd run out of my whatever I was doing to go see her. I just felt like she would always kind of be around. Now, granted, the last couple of years have been a little bit rough, but it's still, I just almost felt a little bad then to run after her and go see her then. From what I heard about her from the other people that have met her, said she was insanely nice, like very cool, very like calm, chill, like just like she was Brenda. She was just like a chill, cool girl. Everyone was very impressed by her. The one thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but it didn't rub me the wrong way because I understood it, is I was told that, once the diagnosis was first sort of developed, like it became public, people wanted to do interviews with her, and she was like charging the outlets to do interviews. Now, there's nothing wrong with that because the other people are making money and you want to make money as well. And this is sort of like an income thing for you. So but at the time I was a little like, man, wait, she thinks she's so good that she's asking these outlets to pay her to do a 5-minute interview on ET or
Well, if you
Entertainment Tonight.
remember, there's a lot.
But at that time, though, Dax, everyone was getting paid. So I had to separate that thought in my head because that's what the outlets are doing. People are just paying celebrities like teen moms from $5 to $50,000 to do an interview. But that doesn't happen anymore. So I don't know.
I would say I was a big 90210 fan, huge 90210 fan. So, and Charmed fan, to be totally honest. I loved Charmed. I loved 90210. So I feel like she was such a big part of my childhood growing up. She was everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Like she was just one of the biggest stars on television throughout a lot of my youth. And so I remember the first time I talked to her, I was very nervous.
When you mean you talked to her, were you working? Were you interviewing her, or was it just like
we were on the phone?
Okay.
Yeah, we were on the phone, and I remember being just in my mind being like, I can't believe I'm on the phone with Shannon Doherty right now. Like this is crazy that I get to have a conversation with Shannon. You know, obviously it was all about the cancer and lawsuits and stuff, so it wasn't like this like fun conversation. But nevertheless, you have that realization moment where you're like, I never thought in my wildest dreams when I was watching 90210 I'd be on the phone with her, right?
Yeah.
So I remember I was super starstruck then. Getting to meet her in person was also just cool. It was really, I don't know, you see these people on television so much, and then you see them standing in front of you and they know your name, or they're like, let's take a picture. Like that stuff I think is really cool. And then, you know, I've known Brian Austin Green for a long time. He speaks so highly of Shannon. I think that they had a really wonderful relationship, and he always valued them. And so I feel like my standards went up for Shannon because I hear Brian talks so well of her that I kind of erases a lot of that bad publicity that she got throughout the years. Like she always got like shitty publicity because of her and Alyssa Milano having that big fallout. People
why did Alyssa take me back to why did Alyssa Milano and Shannon Doherty have a fallout?
It seemed like they had beef for a long time while filming Charmed, but if you remember, Shannon got fired from Charmed and she always blamed Alyssa Milano for it, saying that the two of them had beef, and Alyssa went to the producers and basically said, I'm going to sue the production company for like a hostile work environment if you don't fire her. And then they ended up firing her. And then they kind of went back and forth for years with, you know, Alyssa not wanting to say that and Shannon kind of reinforcing that was the storyline. Alyssa did put out a post after the announcement of her death, saying, you know, listen, we've had a very complicated storyline throughout our years as two individuals, but the world is a worse off place without her, and she was a phenomenal actress, something to that effect. But nevertheless,
cool thing to say.
Yeah, and then, you know, her and Holly Raymond Combs obviously have been amazing friends they've been very close for all those years, and she has also spoken so highly of Shannon throughout this whole time. So I think she was a wonderful person. I'm glad that I got to meet her, know her in some capacity. Again, not like we were friends, but that, you know, it was a cool person to meet and get to know for a while.
So do you have Shannon's number in your phone?
Let's see if I still have it. I mean,
you have to save those numbers. I save anytime you get one of those celebrity numbers, you always have to save them.
Yeah.
You have it?
Shannon Doherty. Yeah.
Dude, you've had Shannon Doherty's number and you've never asked her to come on the podcast? Like, are you nuts? Like, you didn't even reach out? Oh, my God.
She's kind of had a lot going on in her life.
Yeah, man, that would have been nice. You know, a quick 90210 story. I was in LA. I was walking down Sunset, and I was right near I think it was the Directors Guild or the Screen Actors Guild building. It's right near like that pancake place near the Laugh Factory, near the old TMZ office.
Oh yeah,
and I was walking
the griddle
the griddle, yeah, right next to the griddle. Is that the Directors Guild or Screen Actors Guild office right there? Director. So I'm walking by there, and all of a sudden, this woman goes, "Hey, here's like a petition. Would you mind taking it?" Like, trying to hand me a paper. I'm like, "Yeah, sure." Then I realized it was What's her name? The one she looked older from 90210. She was like
Gabrielle Carteris.
Yeah, Gabrielle Carteris. I guess she's the president of one of the unions,
she was the SAG president.
She was the SAG president. She like gave me a paper. I was like, "Whoa, what are you? You're handing me a flyer right now? Like, what is?" I actually thought I was like being pranked. I was like, "Is something going on right now? Like, this is very weird." But she was like trying to raise some sort of awareness, and it was kind of like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." And honestly, one of my buddies growing up, my buddy Mark, was a huge 90210 fan. And if he always just like witnessed that, he would have freaked out. Like, because he would have freaked out.
Yeah,
it's crazy
I got to go to an event. One of Brian was taping like a podcast, and I got invited to it. And it was Ian Ziering, Gabrielle, him, a couple of the other, like, you remember the guy that owned like what the heck is it called? The Pit. What was his name? Like Ned or something? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
But there was like a bunch of cast members that wasn't necessarily the main ones, but fringe ones, and it was really cool just to see all of them in person together in one spot.
I'm looking at like a cast photo of them. Man, what a crazy like I've met all of them. Pretty much, and it's just like weird. Like I didn't realize like I've met the whole cast of 90210, and it's such like an iconic type show. 2 people now from the cast have now left us. Between Luke.
By the way, that podcast taping was at the high school that they used to film, where it's like Torrance or something like that. So we were around the like fountain in the middle of the school that is super iconic from the TV show.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Richard Simmons passed away. Before we get to Richards, actually, let's do Dr. Ruth, because that one, it's crazy. Do you think with the Donald Trump assassination attempt, that the Shannon Doherty story and Richard Simmons and Dr. Ruth story are actually getting the coverage they deserve? Or are they just being watered down and people are not even talking about it as much? Because to me, it's a big thing. But is it getting the? Yeah. Are they? It's still getting the flowers they deserve?
It's not getting as much attention as it would have. You know what I'm saying? Like, these are 3 pretty huge names in Hollywood, and I would definitely say they would be talked about a lot more. I mean, I still am turning on the news and I see that they're all being talked about, but not to the extent that they would have been talked about had that crazy shooting not had happened, right? Like, let's be honest.
I mean, wait, I didn't tell you. Actually, we'll get into Richard Simmons first. So I was on the golf course on Saturday.
Wait, we're doing Richard now?
Because I just thought of this now. I just saw this now. We're getting into Richard Simmons. I was on the golf course Saturday, and I was telling this person what I do. And I said, I always, when I meet new people, I always say, like, if you could meet 3 people, any 3 people, who'd you want to meet? And we start talking. I said, who's like the people who are the best are probably the most surprising. And I say, who the person who I always I've met pretty much everyone, and pretty much everyone. But there's some people you see and you get excited to see them still. Yeah. Like anytime I see Shaq, it's always like, we're friends, but it's like, dude, it's still Shaq to me, but it's a different kind of energy because we kind of know each other in a different way. But there's some celebrities I still get excited for. And Richard Simmons was one of those people I get excited for. So I told the person, like, this is Saturday afternoon. I go, I always loved and always got excited to see was Richard Simmons. He was the best. He was the best. Like, he was the greatest guy. I'm sad that I'm mad I don't get to see him often. I just get jealous of the guys in LA who'd run to Richard Simmons all the time. And I only met him a handful of times, but he's always so nice, so sweet, and so fun, and so funny. And I said to this person Saturday afternoon, he was the best guy. Then an hour later, I look at my phone, I see that Richard Simmons has died. And I said to the person, I said, hey, who did I tell you who was the person I always got excited to see? They said, Richard Simmons. I go, he just died. They're like, what? I was like, how insane is that I was talking about Richard Simmons, and an hour later, we find the news that he dies. It was like, honestly, it gave me like chills. I was like, yeah. So then I was like, let me see who else I can talk about and see if they'll die. And then,
don't stop.
No, okay. But it was, Yeah, Richard Simmons passed away, obviously. What do we know about the Richard Simmons death so far, Dax? Or,
Well, he
is there
was
any?
76. It sounds like at least TMZ had some info up. They said that he fell in his bathroom at his home, but it's really unclear if the housekeeper found him. We do know that LAPD's Elite Robbery Homicide Division responded to his house because it was a high-profile death, but they didn't expect any foul play, and that they don't know if if he hit his head or whatever. I'm sure that information will come out, but nothing at this point has come out. He has for a long time said that he's just not been in the best health, and that's kind of like why he wanted to pull himself away from the limelight. I think he wanted people to remember him as Richard Simmons. Like, at the end of the day, when you look at photos, that's who you think of Richard Simmons, right? Like, you didn't see him getting older and, turning gray and all these other things. And I think that's really what he wanted for his legacy is, you remember me how I used to be when I had the energy, when I could walk, when I could do all of that kind of stuff. And he actually pulled it off. I didn't think that we would never see Richard Simmons again. With everything going on, I thought at some point when he disappeared years ago that he would come out or we would see him in public. I had heard that he would dress up or be in costume or do these other elaborate things so that people wouldn't know that it was him. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I had heard. And what kind of interactions did you have with him throughout the years?
I mean, I only met him a handful of times, but I was always excited to see him. I was always, and the crazy part is, every time I went for him, there was no other like fans or paparazzi who would actually go for him. Again, he seemed one of those guys. I think people didn't take him too seriously, but he was. I think once you met him, you realized what he did, and he made people feel good about himself. I mean, he kind of did these. What was he did what workout videos for people for.
He did workout videos. He did all these classes in LA. He literally had a studio that he would show up to every single day and lead these like aerobic exercise classes. And we would get him out all the time in LA, all the time.
Yeah.
He was just available.
Yeah. He was great. He was funny. He made people feel good about themselves. He made them fun. If you were having like a rough day, I could see he's the type of guy who would just make you feel silly. He was talkative. He'd give you his time. He was present. Like, he was just a character, but like a nice character. And honestly, it was something that I think there's nobody else that does what he does now. Actually, the closest person I would say is like a Shaq, but it's a different type of sort of kind of not character, but like thing that he does to people where he makes their day. And that's what Richard Simmons did. He would make every single person he'd meet, he'd make their day. He'd make them feel good about themselves. He'd make them feel fun and happy. And I don't think people appreciate him as much as they should, because he was very that impactful.
I don't think people knew how much pressure that was on him.
To always be on.
To be on, like, think about having to be upbeat, happy, excited, motivational at every moment of the day. Like, there's not a day that you get to have off, right? Like, you can't have a bad day being a Richard Simmons. So how do you? That's a lot of weight on your shoulders, and I think he felt that weight a lot of the time.
Yeah, and listen, at the end of the day, he was promoting good things. He promoted health and exercise back when it wasn't trendy, when it wasn't people doing it. And he had women who needed, I'd say women, men and women that needed the work done, and he would kind of try to help get them started into a healthy lifestyle. So, it sucks. I wish we saw more of him in the last few years, because he was just one of a kind. And it's pretty insane that he was able to spend the last couple of years of his life without being seen at all.
Yeah. I think the last kind of shots we saw were like his feet. I remember getting in shots of him at like a hospital, and all you could see, he had like a blanket over his head and you could see his shoes. And that was like the last shots I saw of Richard. And, I got to see him for the last time months before he disappeared forever.
Really?
Yeah. So I was at Matt Weiss's birthday party, and people might know Matt from TMZ. He is on the show. He's one of the producers for the TV side, writes a lot of the stories and everything. But Matt and I are good buddies, and I went to his birthday party one year, just at a little restaurant in the Santa Monica area, and Richard showed up. Matt always has all these big celebrity friends, just random. He knows everyone. He's done a lot of movie stuff, written scripts, done all kinds of things. And I remember being at this little Mexican restaurant, and in walks Richard Simmons, full of energy, lights up the entire room. And it's just when someone like that walks in the room, everyone stops to be like, holy shit, Richard Simmons is here. And Matt had become friends with him over the years. I think he had gone to a couple of the workouts at a couple of his classes. They had just become friends. So Richard showed up to his birthday party, sang him happy birthday, by the way. And then went around and just chatted with everyone. I had a really nice conversation with him. He was just telling me how handsome I looked. And it was just really fun. He was there for this moment, brought everyone up, and then just kind of disappeared into the night. And that was the last time I think anyone had seen him ever.
Yeah, I mean,
Matt happened to get him right before he went away into hiding.
I just looked it up. I didn't know he was Catholic. For some reason, the name Simmons, and based on his curly hair, I thought maybe he was Jewish. So I wonder at his funeral what it would be like. Actually, I'm very curious what a Richard Simmons funeral would be like. I'm curious if it would be open casket so people could see him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
No chance. You think he's the guy hid away from the limelight for the last 10 years? You think he's going to have an open casket? No chance.
I wonder what celebrities would show up to his funeral. I wonder if he has a public.
I think a lot of celebrities would show up, but I also kind of feel like at this point, would Richard even want a big hoopla over his death? He might even be I don't want a funeral, just let people say their goodbyes in their own personal way, and I'm not even going to tell people where I'm buried. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I don't know. It's this. You said the Shannon Doherty, the Richard Simmons ones, because again, I think he was so special, and people they didn't even take that perspective of what he did for people.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that's so weird and random, but very unique. And I try to think the only person, like I said, the only person I could think of that does something like what he does, but in a different kind of way, is Shaquille O'Neal, where he makes people feel great about themselves. He makes them feel special, Yeah.
I really regret I didn't ask him for a photo that night.
I got a good photo with him. Here's the photo. Dr. Ruth passed away, Dax, huh?
Yes. It's funny. She's also been one of those names that I feel like have been famous since I was really, really young. She was always that person that was on the radio. So she passed away at the age of 96. You know her as just the legendary TV sex therapist, Dr. Ruth. She died in New York City. She was a German-born Jewish Holocaust survivor. She passed away at her home on Friday. And they declined to give a cause of death. I mean, she was 96, so I can say that she lived a very long, full life. We've seen her on all kinds of different TV shows. She was on Ellen. She was on basically every night show that was out there. David Letterman, The Tonight Show, The Dr. Oz Show. She even made appearances on Quantum Leap, The Love Boat. I mean, she just really became that household name. I think also when you see an older lady talking sex, I think there's something that is intriguing about that. And at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, that's what she was famous for, an old lady talking about sex. I mean, the only thing I learned from her is just put a finger in your butt. And I'm just kidding. I did not learn that from her. Dax taught me that trick. No, she was like the late night guest. When you need a late night guest, a late night show needed a guest, she would always be fun and funny, and the host would just kind of shake their head and laugh at her. I don't know. As a sex, I don't know how many people are actually going to go see her. Was she an actual working therapist? Was she actually working with clients? I don't know, but
I don't know either. Like Dr. Drew actually still like sees patients all the time. Like I always pictured Dr. Drew as being one of those people who is a TV doctor, just does all this stuff. But no, he still has a practice. He still has his rehab. Like people come and see him and seek advice from him.
Yeah, same thing with Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz, I don't know if he's still doing it. I don't think he's still working with patients, but for a long time when he was on TV, he was still working with patients. So pretty crazy that he was able to do that.
Was Dr. Ruth someone that you would run into in New York because she was such a staple of New York?
You would see her at going into a lot of events, like the Friars Club or sometimes a premiere. You'd always see her. She was so small and tiny. She was so short. I'd see her a decent amount of time going into events. Mm-hmm. She wasn't the warmest of people. She wasn't that friendly. She wasn't friendly at all, to be honest with you. I tried to interview her a bunch of times, and she would just kind of kind of scare me, just walk right by you and just not really be into it. I don't know, maybe she didn't even know what I was doing because she was just at that age where she was old enough. What she passed away at?
96.
96. So, I'm started 88, 89 years old. I don't know how old I was running into her. She probably didn't even know what I was doing with the guy. Who's this guy with the camera saying I'm just going to ignore him. So, but she was around. How she made money, I don't know. But she was definitely notable. But, this was within 2 days. We had 3 pretty named people who passed away, which is sort of unique. And,
well, they always come in 3, so we're going to be like, boom, got all 3 in one shot. Let's not have any more.
Yeah, but I know, I was trying to think, is Shannon Doherty the first big person to pass away this year of 2024? The one that's whoa, that one hurt. But I was looking at the other people.
Sure, there's been more, yeah.
No, there has been. I'm not going to rank which stars died this week and who's the bigger star, but this year, you forget Carl Weathers died, Toby Keith passed away, Richard Lewis, O.J. Simpson, Willie Mays, the baseball player, Bill Walton, the basketball player, Morgan Spurlock passed away, Donald Sutherland, and now, unfortunately, we had Dr. Ruth, Shannon Doherty, and Richard Simmons. So,
this weekend could have had one other person. It was that close. Donald Trump.
Yeah.
That was some of the craziest shit I've seen. And the fact that bullet whizzed his ear, one little inch over. Could have been a very different news cycle going on, whether you like him or you don't. Crazy that, a former president, a presidential nominee could have potentially been killed this weekend. It's wild.
Wild. We'll see how security protocols go on now moving forward with the whole election and just in general with the world, with all your soccer fans running into arenas to watch soccer. Listen, when people run into a soccer game like that, I didn't expect people like that. I expect fans to go through the vents to go see a Craig David concert. That's where I expect, that's my fascination with Craig David. But guys,
this will be a good warning for, we're supposed to host World Cup in 2 years. That's going to be a big deal. Or is it even in 2 years? I don't know.
Congratulations, America. Now we're going to be watching it within a barbed wire. That's how they're going to be playing. But guys, if you're watching on Red Coral, make sure you guys leave a comment or something like that. I think you can do it on there.
You can leave a comment. You can leave a review on Red Coral, which we honestly, just watching us on Red Coral is already a huge help for us. The advertising splits are very much in our favor on Red Coral, which is a big step up from watching it on a YouTube or any other platform. So if you guys have a chance, go to Red Coral. We do it in our link. You can go to HollywoodRaw.com, and the top link there is to Red Coral. If you would like to help support us in that way, since we don't ask for money or anything else, that would be awesome.
Make sure you guys check out our Facebook group called Off the Record. It's a fun community where you guys can talk to us. We can talk to you. We just kind of BS with each other. Yeah, it's cool. Check us out on our private Facebook group called Off the Record. Follow me at Adam Glyn, Glyn. Follow Dax Holt at Dax Holt. See you guys next week.
Bye.
What's up, guys? If you like that video, there's plenty more where that came from.
Make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell so we can just feed you all the goodness daily.
Hurry up. Come on, let's go.